Hey everybody, this is Brian David Marshall coming to you from the Tournament Center at the World Championships in Chiba, Japan. I'm here with U.S. National Champion Josh Utter-Leyton. Josh also has a top 8 this year playing Pro Tour San Juan.
Yep.
That was your last Pro Tour, right? You didn't actually go to Amsterdam.
Yep, so I'm fresh off a PT top 8 in this event.
Very nice. And then you also have a top 8 right just immediately preceding this in Grand Prix Nashville.
Yeah.
So having a nice little season.
Doing well this year, yeah.
Yeah, and you're in a position to top 8. You need to win out this weekend.
5 rounds to go, yeah.
Yeah. So, but in the meantime, you've just completed the team portion, where you were holding up the legacy end for Team USA, and you went 4-0.
I did, with a pretty sweet deck.
Yeah, it is a pretty sweet deck. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So we did a metagame breakdown, and depending on how you categorize this deck, it's either 2% of the 50 decks that played in the event, or 25% of the decks that played here this weekend. What deck is this? Is this an elf deck, or is this a survival deck?
I mean, it's both.
Okay.
It definitely uses both cards very well. The core of the deck is the Glimpse of Nature, Heritage Druid, Nettle Sentinel, Elves combo deck that we've seen for a while in many different formats.
Right. Did you play this deck in Berlin, the Heritage Druid?
No, I missed the boat on that one, but I've been playing it a fair amount since then.
So, and just explain to people very quickly how the combination of these 3 cards, Glimpse of Nature, Heritage Druid, and Nettle Sentinel, can work together.
Yeah, so the ideal plan is to cast your Glimpse of Nature, and then you start casting a bunch of 1-mana elves, and they're all cantripping. And then with the Heritage Druid in play, all of your elves will tap for a mana the turn they come into play. So you're not costing yourself mana as you're drawing these cards.
Right.
And then once you get Nettle Sentinels going, they untap, so you're actually generating mana as you're casting elves.
Right.
So the idea is to cantrip through a whole bunch of elves, drawing your deck with the Glimpse of Natures.
So a couple of the one mana elves in the deck. You have 4 Llanowar, 3 Fyndhorn, Wirewood Symbiote, not an elf, but
not an elf, but
he's been hanging out with them.
A key component of the elf combo.
Let you bounce stuff, and you got Quirion Ranger.
Yeah,
was a little too old for the
extended deck, but it's a very nice addition for Legacy. It definitely helps the deck a lot, and especially with the Fauna Shamans in the deck also, untapping those.
And then you have 1 Elvish Visionary.
Yeah, it's a relevant tutor target to start drawing some cards with symbiotes.
And then this sort of 4-card package here is kind of your elf kill condition.
Yeah, so you have the Regal Force as a tutor target to be able to draw a lot of cards without a Glimpse of Nature, or during a Glimpse to refuel your hand. And then the other 3 cards are, once you've drawn your deck, you actually want a way to kill them. Otherwise you could be cold to something like a Peacekeeper or a Moat, something like that. So the kill is Primal Command, Eternal Witness, returning Primal Command, and then you have Cloudstone Curio to loop the Eternal Witness back to your hand and keep doing that.
Okay, so that's one half of the deck.
That's one half.
The other half, we have 4 Survival of the Fittest, and
4 Fauna Shaman.
4 Fauna Shaman, Survival Light.
Yeah.
The backup plan, as it's called.
Yeah, so the survivals are really awesome in this deck. Not only do you have Squee as just a card advantage to just get that back every turn and get a new creature, and then you also have the Vengevines that have become the norm for survival decks.
Right.
And this deck uses those effectively too. You have plenty of creatures to always be rebuying your Vengevines and can get them going quickly.
So you have how many lands? How many forests?
14 forests.
14 of these
and
guys.
Then possibly the best card in the deck, Gaea's Cradle. It's just so much explosive mana.
So you're playing elves, you're playing elves, and then you drop one of these, you draw into a Gaea's Cradle, you play it, suddenly this thing taps for 10, 11, 12 mana, right?
It's pretty ridiculous.
And then you Regal Force, and you get to use all your mana and do all sorts of stuff. That's amazing. So you 4-0'd with this deck in Legacy. What decks did you face against?
I played against a Counterbalance deck, a rock deck like the one Brad Nelson top 8'd the Legacy GP with. Okay. A Zoo deck and an Ad Nauseam deck. So a good mix of different opponents.
Okay. And then how often were you like an elf deck? How often were you a survival deck?
I was both most of the time, actually. I'd use the survivals, get some Vengevines going, and then also use the survivals to fuel the combo kill. Right.
You have the survival, which then lets you go get the 1 Regal Force instead of having to keep digging, and maybe fizzle out.
Yeah,
right?
It's not just the Regal Force either. It assembles your Nettle and Heritage so that you get your mana going, and that chains into the Regal Force later.
So you can just play your survival on turn 2, and then sort of just filter your hand for the key cards to be able to go off.
Right.
That's awesome. And let's talk a little bit about the sideboard. You talked about playing against Ad Nauseam combo in the last round.
Yeah.
And I saw you kind of destroy somebody with this card.
Yeah, so Ad Nauseam is definitely a bad matchup game 1. They're just a little bit faster than you, and they have some hand disruption. So I'm ready for Ad Nauseam with 6 sideboard cards, the Mindbreak Traps, and then the artifacts, the Thorn of Amethyst as well.
Okay.
So yeah, in my round, my opponent played right into the Mindbreak Trap, just dumped his entire hand to cast an Ad Nauseam, and that was game when I had the Mindbreak Trap.
That's funny. I saw you using a lot of your sideboard cards. So that was a game I saw you play with 6 of your sideboard cards. I saw you win another game using these 5 cards.
Yeah, against everything else, I boarded those in.
Oh, you boarded these in all the time?
Yeah, it's just another angle of attack.
Basically, this is... How early can you get a Progenitus out with this combination?
Turn 2.
And how does that happen?
You can do it with a Gaea's Cradle, or you can just go Forest Llanowar Elves, and then on turn 2 you go the Quirion Ranger into a Heritage Druid, and that gets you to 4 mana also.
Okay. And then finally we have a couple of just sideboard staples. Viridian Shaman.
Yeah, for killing Cannonus is the main target. Also Jit is another relevant one.
Okay. And then the last 2 cards.
Just a couple of cards against something like Dredge, that another combo deck that's faster than you and you would like some help against.
Excellent. So you would recommend this deck to anyone playing in, say, a Legacy Open?
Oh, absolutely. I think this deck is very, very powerful.
Okay. So we'll call it Survival Elves.
Sure.
Sure. For Josh Utter-Leyton, this is Brian David Marshall signing off from the Tournament Center.